Amazing transformation, Millionaire's instant change after discovering a homeless boy dancing with Joy. James Caldwell navigated the treacherous avenue, the brunt of his luxury sedan's engine rumbling beneath him, as he reflected on yet another weary day spent dominating board meetings. A world of skyscrapers glinted menacingly in the golden glow of the setting sun. He saw the misshapen streets below, unaware of how disconnected he had become from their struggles. Tightening his grip on the steering wheel, irritation festered in his chest, traffic crawled before him like molasses. Success was his fortress, yet loneliness crept in like a serpent, swallowing fragments of the man he once aspired to be. Then, amid the monochrome landscape of storefronts and endless pavement, a flicker of vibrant energy broke through the dullness. A boy, no older than 10, danced at a bus stop. Eli's tattered jacket flared like a flag in the evening breeze, his movements effortlessly alive as if the music of a hidden world resonated only within him. An unfamiliar pang of yearning twisted in James's gut, a longing for connection. Turning the car onto the gravel shoulder, he stepped out into the biting night air, feeling the cold reminded him of something he had buried so deep. "Hey, what is your name?" he called out, his heart racing, the spontaneity alien to his carefully curated existence. Eli turned, eyes bright with an infectious spirit that pierced James's polished armor. "I'm Eli. I want to be a dancer one day." His voice rang clear, a proclamation laced with hope. Something within James cracked, unearthing the echoes of the dream stifled beneath layers of wealth and ambition. He hesitated, fear gripped him. How could he, a systematic businessman, understand this boy's world? What would it mean to break free from his gilded cage? Before he could retreat, jerking free from his own doubts, James invited Eli to join him in a dance class. He needed to explore this spark within him. Together, they traversed the vibrant chaos of the dance community, a strange juxtaposition against James's empire where profits ruled. Yet, with each stride, whispers clawed at his mind, co-workers eyed him with incredulity. This unlikely pair, juxtaposed against his brand of success, put pressure on the misconceptions that had become his skin. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Eli prepared for a major performance that could define his future, tension crackled like static in the air. James felt the walls of his life compress around him, a sense of impending loss clawed at his chest. The stakes were higher than his corporate pursuits ever posed. Trapped in the whirlwind of growing chaos, he felt his own insecurities swelling as judgments turned to doubts and doubts spiraled into overwhelming anxiety. James stood backstage, his hands clammy, the vibrant lights illuminating the stage just ahead dimmed by a wave of uncertainty. Would this performance validate Eli's dreams and his own need for genuine connection? Or would his fear push him back to the cold efficiency of a life devoid of what truly mattered? His heart raced as he faced the crucial choice: embrace the happiness of father figure to a boy who dared to dream, or retreat once again into the suffocating embrace of his corporate world. Just then, he felt Eli's small hand grasping his, a reminder that the answer was as electric as the moment. Together, they would face whatever lay ahead or risk losing everything. The performance was a cacophony of lights, music, and nervous energy that dug deep into James's gut. He paced backstage, a whirlwind of conflicting emotions rippling through him. The sounds of laughter and applause floated through the curtain, an alluring sort of symphony that called to him and terrified him in equal measure. At that moment, Eli's imminent debut was not merely about a stage, it was a mirror reflecting James's own unfinished dance with life, one he had long avoided. What most people saw as a harmless venture into the unfamiliar world of dance was becoming an unexpected crisis of identity for James. Beneath the surface of his tailored suit and financial accolades, he felt the rawness of his inadequacies. Responsibility and success had overwhelmed the dreams he once nurtured, buried now under the weight of corporate jargon and cutthroat deals. All the while Eli's jubilant preparations were unraveling layers of defensiveness James had cloaked around his heart. "Why are you here?" His internal critic sneered at him. What did a corporate titan know about art? At that moment, this question transformed into a dagger, twisting sharply through his thoughts. He scoffed at that toxic voice. This unusual journey had already provided insight into something he had forgotten. Connection came not through strategy but through vulnerability. Embracing the absurdity of his new path was proving to be a greater challenge than any business deal he had ever faced. That he glanced out from behind the curtain, eyes scanning the bright faces in the audience, all strangers, each here to see Eli perform. This was not a boardroom full of stakes and dividends. Here, it was about life and dreams. A soft tapping on his shoulder startled him. It was Eli, dressed in a brightly colored costume, his eyes sparkling with anticipation. "Mr. Caldwell, you came." Eli whispered excitedly, momentarily breaking through the weight of James's self-doubt. The child's innocent joy felt infectious, compelling James to step closer. He knelt down, his heart warmed by the boy's unwavering light. "Of course, I wouldn't miss it for the world, Eli. You're going to be incredible out there." Eli grinned, but then a sudden hesitation clouded his expression. "What if I mess up? What if they don't like me?" James felt a pang of recognition. Eli's fears echoed his own anxieties, mirroring a past where performance was paramount not just on stage but in every corner of corporate life. Where had that boy gone who dreamed without constraints? "Listen," James said, searching for the right words, "everyone out there wants you to succeed. But even if things don't go as planned, you'll still be amazing because you dared to do this. That's what matters." Eli's face brightened at the sentiment, emboldening James as well. Yet as he witnessed the boy's transformation from shy to gleefully confident, James felt stirred by a frightening realization. What if, in supporting Eli, he was on the verge of reclaiming parts of himself he thought lost? Just then, the stage manager appeared just as the final call for the dancers was announced. 5 minutes. Get ready, Eli. Time felt elastic, stretching between them as their solidarity formed a bond much thicker than one's corporate alliances, a revelation that graphs and ledgers could never replicate. Yet, the tension still coiled tightly in James's chest. As Eli took his place in the wings and prepared for his moment, James wrestled with his own impeding decision. Would he remain a spectator witnessing a child's dream unfold, or could he confront the truth rippling beneath the surface of his own life? With a final squeeze of Eli's hand, James felt the grip of hesitation slip away. He wouldn't let his own fear shackle Eli's potential. Tonight could either be another ordinary evening or the catalyst for a change that he never thought possible. As the curtain rose and the music swelled, a choice sparked within him. An uncharted territory of possibilities lay just beyond that stage. The time had come to face his doubts, his ambitions, and forge a new path forward. Leaving behind everything he once thought defined him. As the curtain soared above the stage, revealing a world painted in vibrant colors, James found himself transfixed by Eli's presence. The lights bathed his small frame, and in that instant, James realized he had not just come to support, but to witness a profound moment of awakening for both of them. He could feel the weight of their unspoken fears gathering at the edges of the stage, ready to break free into the shared space of possibility. With each beat of music, Eli danced like a firework brought to life freely, unapologetically, and with such grace that it ignited a flicker of longing deep within James. This liminal space where joy and vulnerability entwined challenged James's tightly controlled persona. As he observed Eli's movements, James felt a stirring, an urgent sense that his life had been flattened under the weight of expectation, leaving little room for authentic expression. In that moment, his subconscious whispered truths he had buried. Art wasn't merely about talent, it was about seizing the chaos of existence and transforming it into beauty. Eli was doing just that, boldly crafting something meaningful from uncertainty, and it simultaneously terrified and inspired James. Before now, his life had been rehearsed to perfection, each boardroom meeting executed with surgical precision. Yet, here, in the presence of raw creativity, he was painfully aware of how devoid his own life had become of such passion that a wave of admiration washed over him, not just for Eli's talent, but for the simple audacity of hope. What if he chose to extend this dance beyond the performance? What if he abandoned his calculated demeanor to step into his desires? The thought sent tremors of anxiety through him. Could he redefine success? The answer lay in embracing the vulnerability Eli showcased so effortlessly on stage. The performance unspooled in hypnotic waves, drawing him into a parallel journey. Each leap Eli took became a metaphor for the risks James had avoided for far too long. Then he noticed something profound: the audience responded not just to Eli's talents but to the authenticity of his spirit. A raucous cheer erupted from the depths, causing James's heart to race. In that moment, he recognized that the applause was an acknowledgement of courage, not perfection. As the final notes of music swelled, and Eli landed gracefully, James erupted with applause, not just for the boy on stage, but in celebration of his own emerging authenticity. This moment mirrored a rebirth. Casting aside the weight of his corporate identity, he found a path to a clearer version of himself, one that yearned to dance again, to be free and unguarded. Stepping beyond the palpable excitement of the moment, James's thoughts sharpened. His training had instilled the mindset of a strategist, yet here he faced a choice: could he channel that acumen into crafting a life of genuine significance? Before he could dwell on the implications, Eli rushed off the stage, enveloped in his family's embrace. His eyes found James, searching for validation. In that gaze, an unspoken question hung between them: what comes next? This offered James an unexpected revelation. Perhaps supporting Eli meant exploring the depths of his own potential. Could he transform from an observer into an active participant in the dance of life, the bold dance that Eli had just shown him? His heart surged with warmth, certainty rising within him like the throbbing bass resonating still in the air. Before James could contemplate further, the stage manager beckoned Eli for a post-performance review amidst the scattered cheers. James felt a beckoning of his own this time, toward a new path. He had to share his thoughts with Eli, to ground their experiences in mutual encouragement. As he stepped into that mingling crowd, he saw Eli twirling, energy still radiating from him. The stage lights dimmed, but the spark ignited within James glowed brighter than ever before. Suddenly, the question loomed: was he ready to let go of the corporate persona and embrace a new identity fueled by passion, creativity, and an authentic self? In that crowded space, among voices lifted in celebration, the answer shimmering around him felt palpable. This transformation was but a whisper of what lay ahead. What awaited if he fully embraced the chances that had just begun to unfurl, rather than retreating into the silence of past ambitions? As voices surrounded him, one echo reverberated louder, pushing against the walls of his suffocating past. The moment of truth was approaching. He could not remain on the sidelines any longer. The familiar corporate world felt like a prison in contrast to the boundless dreams yet undiscovered. Right now, a new path beckoned at the edge of his vision, and it was time for him to step into the light. Would he find the courage to dance his own dance? In the midst of the crowd, James felt the thrum of energy still alive in the air, almost electric, connecting him with every pair of eyes around him. The applause faded, but the exhilaration he experienced during Eli's performance lingered, igniting something deep within his core. He was no longer a passive watcher. The experience transformed him into an active participant in his own life's unfolding narrative. James's mind raced, punctuated by the well-worn routines of his corporate existence. Names and faces from the office cascaded through his thoughts, each a reminder of expectations shaped by rigid hierarchies and suffocating norms. Yet, here was Eli, a beacon of authenticity, navigating through life's chaos with an effortless grace. The contrast could not have been starker. Eli's dance was a symphony of joy, a testament to bravery that danced on the thin line between vulnerability and sheer delight. As he navigated through the drifting crowd, James sought out Eli, his heart pounding louder with each step. He yearned to tell him how much the evening had meant, how witnessing such raw talent had struck a chord deep within him. These feelings, unfurling like petals under sunlight, stirred an idea: could he mirror Eli's boldness in embracing the unknown? The thought brought both hope and fear, enticing him away from the familiar shores he had anchored to for so long. When he finally reached Eli, the boy glowed with a fresh vibrancy, still basking in the afterglow of applause, his cheeks flushed and eyes shimmering. The moment their gazes connected, James felt a profound understanding pass between them, an acknowledgement of unvoiced dreams and mutual earnestness. "James. Did you see? I can't believe I did it." Eli's words burst forth like confetti, bright and jovial. "I saw you every step of the way," James replied, his voice steady, his determination crystallizing. "You were incredible. You danced with your heart, and it radiated through everyone." Eli beamed, undeterred by the praise. "It's your turn. Don't you want to dance too?" The question hung between them like a promise. James could feel the weight of it, the daring potential in the air. "Maybe I could," he said, hesitating as self-doubt cascaded over him like a shroud. "But how?" "Just let go. Stop thinking so much, be free." Eli urged, his enthusiasm infectious. "What is stopping you?" James took a deep breath, each inhale filled with the scent of possibility. He was a strategist, conditioned to weigh every risk meticulously. But this was different, this was personal. Eli's words peeled back layers of adherence, revealing the parts of him that craved creativity, spontaneity, and joy. "What if you redefine what it means to win?" Eli continued, sensing James's inner turmoil. "It's not about corporate accolades or financial gains, it's about being true to yourself." At that moment, the culmination of fear and excitement converged within James. While he had always prided himself on being the architect of his future, the idea of a revised blueprint, a canvas splattered with colors of authenticity, became a magnetic force pulling him forward. "Okay," he said, grabbing onto his courage. "Let us explore this path. But how do I start?" Eli's eyes sparkled with mischief. "We're heading to the studio this weekend. You'll join me in practice. No rules, no pressure. Just dancing." As James nodded, a lightness surged through him. The notion of immersing himself in Eli's world felt both daunting and exhilarating. Yet, an internal flicker of doubt lingered, nagging at the back of his mind. What if he failed? What if he wasn't synced with the rhythm, or what if decades of conformity couldn't just be unraveled overnight? James pushed the thought aside as excitement welled counter to apprehension. He was ready to seize his narrative, to break free from the constraints of a life dictated by others' expectations. Eli represented a world where humanity thrived amidst uncertainty, a world of honest expression. As they parted ways at the exit, the evening's vibrant energy clung to James, leaving a trail of possibilities in its wake. He felt like a tightrope walker poised at the starting line of an electrifying journey. Would the metamorphosis he craved unfold into an embrace of self-discovery, or would fear tether him once again? With his heart racing, he walked into the night, shadows of doubt still trailing behind. But now he was ready to confront them head-on. The dawn of a new journey awaited, and the canvas was blank, an invitation to paint his life anew. But as he prepared for this leap, he realized, it was one thing to want transformation, entirely another to let go of the past that still held its grip. Would he find the courage to fully abandon the safety of his former life, or would he hesitate at the edge of change, terrified of what awaited him beyond? The weekend arrived, painting the sky with golden hues that beckoned toward possibility. James stood outside the dance studio, anxiety knotting in his stomach. A place of mirrors and movement, it held the weight of his decision. Each breath he took seemed to echo the doubts he had tried to banish, whispering questions of competence and self-worth. What if he looked foolish? What if he couldn't keep up? He was about to turn back when the memory of Eli's infectious enthusiasm surged through him. Just let go. Stop thinking so much. He inhaled deeply, summoning determination tucked beneath layers of his corporate armor. It was time to dismantle that armor, to remove the formidable weight of expectation that clung to him like a second skin. Inside the studio, the space was alive with movement, colorful and chaotic. Dancers flowed effortlessly, lost in the rhythm while laughter mingled with the pulse of music. Eli spotted him and bounded over, his energy a vivid contrast to James's trepidation. "Are you ready to let loose?" The boy's eyes twinkled with mischief and encouragement. James nodded but felt rooted to the spot. Eli offered a quick motion encouraging him forward. "Come on. Just move your body to the music." Begrudgingly, as if being pulled from quicksand, James joined Eli. Each step felt awkward, as if his limbs were unfamiliar. The rhythm was vehement and unyielding, but Eli was relentless. "Forget the steps. Feel the music. Let it take you." Gradually, James felt the music seep into him, igniting the smoldering remnants of creativity buried beneath layers of conformity. He dared to sway, to let the beat guide him rather than regimented technique. A momentary surge of confidence washed over him as a gentle spark of joy ignited within. He moved with a newfound freedom, abandoning the chains of his corporate self. Laughter erupted as he stumbled but managed to recover, giving way to a playful disarray that drew a gentle smile from Eli. "See? This is it." Eli beamed, his excitement palpable. "When you dance, you're free. Don't think." But then a sudden pitch of shame crept in, the vestiges of his old life flickering like a haunting shadow. Who was he to dance like this? The thought threatened to choke the emerging joy, chaining him to the fears he had hoped to shatter. He noticed other dancers, their confidence pouring forth, each lost in their expressions of individuality. Jealousy seeped into his mind like acid, gnawing at the edges of his satisfaction. Why did they seem so at ease while he felt like an imposter? "James." Eli's voice broke through the fog. "Don't compare yourself. Dance like no one else watching." In that moment, he caught a glimpse of his reflection in the wall of mirrors. His face was flushed, eyes lit with a spark that reflected a version of himself he hadn't seen in years. Who was this man willing to step out of the prescribed box? The internal conflict swirled. Could he truly embrace this new identity? He grappled with the possibility of redefining success not through corporate accolades, but through the exhilaration of expressive movement, of art as an authentic form of communication. Deciding on impulse, he forsook the doubt and flung himself into a reckless, unrestrained spin. The exhilaration of losing himself to the moment ignited a fire he had long dismissed. Laughter bubbled up instinctively as he danced, drawing Eli closer, their impromptu duet a study in the triumph of authenticity over conformity. Yet as the music faded and the studio returned to stillness, a creeping realization nestled itself against his confidence. Transformations rarely come without sacrifice. He could feel the tug of his old life, the chains whispering of security, safety, and in that silence, he was suddenly aware. The moment had come to decide whether he would embrace the risk of being truly himself or retreat back into the safety of his carefully constructed walls. James stood at the precipice of self-discovery. But with that exhilarating feeling of freedom came another question: if he dared to leap into this new life, what would he have to leave behind? And who would he become in the process? The studio lights flickered off, leaving James momentarily enveloped in a pool of darkness as the aftermath of the music reverberated within him. He felt both exhilarated and hollow, caught between two existences. The laughter of Eli lingered in his ears, yet he could still hear the faint echoes of his corporate life, whispering dire warnings of instability and fear. In the silence, James closed his eyes, his breathing slowing. Could he allow himself to embrace this newfound sensation without abandoning everything he had built? The walls he had constructed around himself felt both protective and suffocating. They offered security and predictability, values he had lived by for nearly a decade. But at what cost? "James, you were amazing." Eli's voice pierced through his thoughts like a ray of light. "You have to keep coming back." James opened his eyes, drawn to the young dancer's unabashed enthusiasm. Eli's grin was infectious, yet in that moment, it was also a reminder of his own uncertainty. How could he maintain this newfound passion amidst the demands of his career? Fear bubbled back up, intertwining with the remnants of joy he had just felt. That he forced a smile in response, but the expression felt borrowed, plucked from a place of obligation rather than genuine emotion. What would it mean to keep dancing? Would it compromise his professional reputation? Would colleagues laugh at him if they knew? Hey, what's up? Eli plopped down beside him, unfazed by the older man's stillness. You got lost in thought. James chuckled, brushing away the weight in his mind. Just contemplating how to make time for all of this. The hesitance in his voice didn't go unnoticed. Time. Seriously? Eli's eyes widened. You can't think too much about it. Just let it happen. Dance is about freedom, not schedules or plans. Inwardly, James realized how true Eli's words were. Why had he always let practicality restrain his spontaneity? Yet that very practicality had served him well in the corporate realm, leading to promotions and accolades. But did passion and creativity really need to take a back seat to such ambitions? As he pondered this, an idea ignited within him, an urge to expand rather than constrict. Perhaps he could redefine his work-life balance, weaving dance into his life, not as an escape, but as an integral thread in the fabric of his existence. The thought electrified him. What if I set aside time in my week? Like a commitment? A dance session every week. The words tumbled out, unexpected yet liberating. Eli's smile broadened, akin to sunlight piercing through clouds. See? Now you're talking. And maybe you can bring some friends. We could start a crew. James chuckled again, but this time, it was infused with hope, a flicker of possibility instead of doubt. He could picture himself dancing alongside colleagues, transforming what once appeared foreign into a shared experience. But as excitement coursed through him, a shadow crept in. This path meant stepping further away from the life he had meticulously constructed. Each decision would require courage to confront the expectations of those around him. What would his friends and family say when they found out he was dancing, that he was redefining his version of success? Each heartbeat fueled his dilemma, the dance of identity playing out delicately within him. Could he fully commit to this exploration and still preserve the respect he had earned in his professional life? The uncertainty swelled, and with it came clarity. He realized that to embrace this new lifestyle, he had to confront his fears of judgment, not just from others, but from within. If he were to grow, he must dig deeper into his motivations and clarify what truly mattered. With renewed vigor, James stood, a small yet powerful resolve settling over him. It was time to not just dance but to embrace all aspects of who he was becoming. But there remained one looming question: what challenging truth about himself would he have to uncover to fully accept this change? As he turned to leave the studio, a weight lifted, but the air pulsated with an undercurrent of challenge. Your greatest transformation, he reminded himself, often comes with the deepest revelations. And the path ahead? It was just beginning, with all its risks and potential, as unwritten and fluid as the dance yet to unfold. The morning sun began to filter through the curtains as James sat at his small kitchen table, a mug of coffee warming his hands. He felt alive in a way he hadn't in years, yet trepidation simmered beneath the surface. Last night, Eli's infectious enthusiasm still played in his mind, challenging the very fabric of his routine. The thought of committing to a weekly dance session ignited excitement, but a deeper apprehension loomed. What if Eli was right about the freedom dance offered? What if it became a part of him, redefining the counterbalance he had so carefully curated between his professional ambitions and personal passions? James took a sip, contemplating the first tactical step he needed to take. If he wanted to integrate dance into his life, he couldn't merely dabble. It had to be a commitment, not just a few hours once a week, but a real change in how he approached the world. With a mental checklist forming, he grabbed a notepad and began outlining scenarios that could support this desire. What if he invited a few coworkers to join that dance session? The idea felt daunting, yet thrilling. The thought of seeing their expressions, a blend of confusion, amusement, and perhaps intrigue, sent shivers of anxiety and elation down his spine. He pictured their laughter, the skepticism in the air, and the urge to prove that dance could enhance their lives, just as it had sparked life back into his OWN. As he wrote, the doorbell interrupted the flow of his thoughts. Pushing aside his notes, he opened the door to a neighbor, a jovial face welcoming him warmly. "James. I wanted to see if you've decided on joining us for the weekend barbecue," she asked, her voice light and inviting. He hesitated before responding. Normally, he would have quickly agreed, favoring the comfort of social gatherings. But the thought of spending his Saturday mingling instead of dancing made his stomach churn. "I might have other plans," he stammered, clearly feeling disjointed from the very life he typically embraced. "Plans? What are you up to? It's been ages since we saw you out." Her gentle curiosity made him question his own choices even more. The laughter and camaraderie of their neighborhood were tempting, but had he really been living? "I'm exploring some personal things," he replied, feeling slightly embarrassed yet emboldened by his honesty. "Personal things?" she echoed, her brow raised with interest. "Yeah, I've been connecting with some new activities, dance, for example." He braced for her reaction, half expecting a chuckle or a dismissive wave. Instead, she grinned widely. "Wow! That sounds incredible. You've always had rhythm, you know." Each enthusiastic word ignited a flicker of confidence within him. Perhaps, just perhaps, this change wasn't one to hide. Maybe it was something to wear proudly. His neighbor's support felt like a small yet significant victory. James closed the door, returning to his table, invigorated. He decided to reach out to Eli. Setting the stage for a small gathering felt crucial. The idea solidified in his mind an impromptu dance session at his apartment. Determined, he drafted an email inviting a few colleagues to join him. The screen glared back at him, the cursor blinking in rhythm with his racing heart. With a deep breath, he hit send, already imagining the chatter, the uncertainty, and ultimately, the breakthrough. As he sat back, a sense of empowerment coursed through him. He recognized that growth often requires stepping beyond the familiar. He would no longer allow fear to define his choices, a revelation that felt like art and life blending seamlessly through time and movement, but even as anticipation built, shadows of doubt loomed over his commitment. Would they genuinely embrace the invitation, or would they recoil, reinforcing his fears? James knew the answers would soon surface as he plunged into this new chapter. Yet the most pressing question remained: could he lead his colleagues into this transformation without faltering under the weight of their expectations? The stage was being set for an awakening, one that would demand every ounce of his resolve. And with each passing moment, he steeled himself for the adventure ahead. James found himself pacing the apartment, barely able to contain the bubbling energy coursing through his veins. Each tick of the clock drove home the reality that he was stepping into a new territory, and it didn't come without its fair share of anxiety. What had once felt like a shocking leap now grew at the edges of his confidence, each moment refining his resolve to embrace this new passion. As he put the finishing touches on the arrangements for the evening, clearing the living room, adjusting the lighting to create an inviting atmosphere, he wrestled with waves of doubt. Would his colleagues see the initiative as a mockery? Would they dismiss his endeavor as frivolous? He tried to draw from the enthusiasm Eli had shared, anchoring himself in the idea of liberation through dance. The more he replayed Eli's words in his mind, the more he felt the weight of transformative potential. It was about risk, stepping out from the rim of safety that had backed him into a corner for too long. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. It was the first arrival, Kathy, a bright spark from the office who often energized team meetings with her laughter. She stepped in with an eager smile, her bright summer dress twinkling in the soft light. "Hey, James. I'm excited for our dance party." There was an authenticity in her eyes that momentarily dispelled his worries. Her enthusiasm reaffirmed his belief that trying something unconventional could be rewarding. He couldn't help but smile back, hardly able to mask the nervous energy that began creeping up again. "Thanks for coming. I hope you're ready to have some fun and maybe get a little silly." "Oh, I'm all in for some silliness. Isn't that what dance is all about?" Her carefree attitude softened his tight grip on the evening. As others trickled in, Colin, who often took the lead in brainstorming sessions, followed by Lucy, whose quiet observations often unearthed buried insights and uncertain energy filled the room. They were navigating uncharted waters in this team-building and perhaps, soul-building exercise. James could sense their hesitations as they gathered around. This was more than just a dance session, it was about vulnerability, and that was profoundly unsettling for him that he decided to break the ice with a few warm-up stretches, choosing to lead this part instinctively. Standing in front of them, demonstrating exaggerated moves with laughter, a flicker of authority lit up inside his chest. Their initial stiffness began to fade, laughter tiptoed along the edges of each movement as they joined in. It was liberating to see their barriers erode through these simple gestures. The atmosphere thickened with laughter, and as they transitioned between laughter and shy attempts at rhythmic coordination, James felt his nerves ebb away. There was something magnetic about sharing this experience. He realized this was more than a hobby, it was a thread connecting them beyond their professional duties. As the night wore on, music thrummed through the apartment, and the rhythms pulsed through their bodies. James noticed that even the most reserved coworkers loosened up as the hours passed. Kathy led a group improvisation, her spirit contagious, while Colin and Lucy engaged in a playful contest over their best dance faces. The laughter grew and so did his confidence. This shared vulnerability began to morph his self-perceptions, molding him into something less rigid, something more alive, yet, even in this elation, a part of him remained alert, acutely aware that the fear of being judged never fully dissipated. As they took a break, sitting on the floor, the laughter began to quiet down into more contemplative discussions about life and newfound passions. Then, suddenly, the conversation shifted when Lucy acknowledged, "This is exactly what I needed." It's funny how stepping outside your comfort zone can open doors you didn't know existed. Her words struck a chord, forcing James to reckon with the daunting prospect lurking. If this was all so thrilling, why did he still feel a sharp pinch of anxiety when he imagined tomorrow? As the evening drew to a close, James looked around at their smiling faces, a mix of exhilaration and uncertainty dancing in the air. For the first time, he sensed the boundaries he had so carefully constructed beginning to crack. He understood that change wasn't a singular event but an ongoing evolution. Yet, as he closed the door behind everyone, a lingering fear whispered in the back of his mind, a darker part of him questioned whether this evening's magic could translate into everyday transformation. What if tomorrow, when they returned to the grind, this newfound energy faded? The real challenge loomed like a shadow. How could he keep the dance alive amid the mundane dynamics of the workplace? In the stillness of his apartment, James resolved to hold on to this tonight's breakthrough. The commitment was more than just a dance, it was about courage, the courage to face the unknown and to embrace the parts of himself that had long gone unnoticed. The flicker of doubt ignited a new determination within him, the next step awaited, aching to be explored. With the anticipation of a new challenge ahead, he braced himself for a revelation that would tether his dance to reality and possibly reshape his professional trajectory forever. Would he have the courage to confront the very doubts that had shackled his potential? James woke up the next morning with a haunting silence enveloping him. The vibrant memory of last night's revelry hung in the air like an echo, but the moment he stepped out of his cocoon of sheets, the weight of reality pressed down. The bright colors of dance and laughter quickly dimmed to the dull grays of his everyday life. The coffee maker burbled in the corner, a steady reminder that his routines were waiting, unyielding and familiar. Each sip of coffee folded into his gut like an anxious knot. He faced a conundrum. He had tasted freedom, a fleeting glimpse of what potential could emerge from stepping out of his comfort zone. Yet here he was, invested in a profession craving innovation, while the monotonous grind beckoned him back into its fold. As James dressed for work, he couldn't shake Lucy's words from his mind, how stepping outside one's comfort zone could open unexpected doors. The day ahead promised monotony, the same meetings, the same discussions stifled by convention. Yet, something within him vibrated with desire. What if he could keep the energy alive, even in the suffocating cubicles of corporate routine? Gazing at his reflection, he noticed a furtive resolve in his own eyes, a fire ignited that buzzed with potential. Today would not be merely a repeat of yesterday, he would integrate the liberty of dance into his professional life as bold strategic leaps rather than cautious steps. Arriving at the office, the atmosphere seized him as soon as he walked through the glass doors. Colleagues ambled by with heads down, bodies robotic, epitomizing the grind he had wanted to escape. The dull hum of mundane conversations washed over him. And yet, beneath that mundane facade lay a sense of untapped potential. James glanced at the conference room where a meeting was scheduled to discuss the upcoming project, one he knew lacked innovation. The commanding voices that typically led these discussions rushed through facts and figures, but today he felt emboldened. He strode in, heart pounding with each step and palms slightly sweaty. "Can I add something?" he blurted out unexpectedly. The heads turned, surprise flickering across their faces. "What if, instead of merely brainstorming, we try a different approach? A brainstorming dance session?" Silence fell upon the room, pregnant with disbelief. A flicker of doubt warned him to retract his suggestion. Who would take his proposal seriously? Yet, fueled by last night's experience, he pressed on. "Think about it. It's about collaboration and spontaneity. We are stuck following rigid protocols. What if we unlock creativity through movement? It could reinvigorate our workflow." Colin raised an eyebrow, his incredulity palpable. A dance session? In a meeting? There was a ripple of snickers, some prompting embarrassment, while others were intrigued. Was it absurd enough to work? James momentarily faltered, recalling the mocking judgment that sometimes accompanied his ideas, but he pushed ahead, enhanced by the momentum. Yes. Just a short one. It could spark fresh ideas we haven't even considered, he urged, the weight of Lucy's insight cementing his resolve. He felt a swell of anticipation. If he could seize the potential lying beneath that laughter, then today could mark a turning point. Another moment of disbelief lingered, an invisible wall against his enthusiasm. Still, today would not be like any other day. Much to his surprise, Lucy spoke up. "It might actually be fun. Let us give it a shot." Rigidity around the table eased as more murmuring followed, each voice contributing to the fragile momentum building in his favor. The meeting broke into hesitant discussion. Ideas sparked like the flashes of joy from the night before. Colleagues were leaning in, suggesting even outlandish ideas about movement and expression, opening the vault of innovation unleashed by vulnerability. James was buoyed, a connection threading the group tighter. Yet in the back of his mind, the fear loomed larger. Was this newfound creativity temporary? Would they return to business as usual, only to bury the day's spark under the weight of the next deadline? He needed to strategize, to ensure this momentum could transcend beyond today's meeting. As they wrapped up, exhilarated voices surrounded him, and James felt an inexplicable mixture of hope and anxiety swell inside. If he could harness the transformative power of that vibrant night, he knew he needed to map out ideas beyond the spontaneity of dance. The evolution required rigorous planning and consistent engagement. What strategies could he implement to maintain this energy? Would he be able to confront the cold realities of their corporate structure without relinquishing the warmth of creativity? He left the meeting feeling emboldened yet tethered to uncertainty, the delicate balance of hope and dread teetering on the edge. There was a path ahead, but its twists and turns were still unknown. And so, the next inquiry bubbled to the surface. Far more ominous: could he sustain this change and lead others through the complexities of exploration, or would the shadows of office norms reclaim their dominion, extinguishing any flicker of transformation? James walked through the office halls the next day, a sense of buoyancy infusing his stride. He felt different, more alive, as if he had crossed an invisible line dividing who he once was from the man he aspired to be. His heart raced with the anticipation of change. It was time to act on the momentum sparked by his spontaneous dance session and embrace it wholeheartedly in his professional life. He glanced around, noticing how many people moved like automatons through the daily grind. Something flickered within him, urging him to breathe vitality into the sterile environment. The spark ignited within him was a reminder not only of Eli's infectious enthusiasm but a deeper awakening of his own dormant passions. Seeking change, he and a few colleagues regularly met to continue the dance sessions. They grew in number, transcending awkwardness into laughter, blending the exuberance of movement into the lifeless office culture. Interactions that had once felt transactional now crackled with camaraderie as they engaged not just as colleagues but as human beings seeking connection. James watched with pride as his suggestion blossomed into a colorful tapestry of collaborative energy. Weeks passed, and those sessions transformed into a movement, each person stepping out of their comfort zones, shedding routine like old skin. They shared stories of their experiences, and in those moments of vulnerability, James unlocked layers of connection he never imagined possible. Week by week, he felt like a conductor orchestrating a symphony of innovation, hope, and joy in an environment where creativity thrived. As the project milestones approached, he initiated brainstorming sessions laced with music and movement, encouraging each voice to be heard and celebrated. He reminded them all that the goal wasn't to simply meet objectives but to cultivate an environment where inspired ideas took root. As they explored unique avenues for the project, his colleagues rallied behind him. When the final presentation day arrived, a palpable energy filled the conference room. Colleagues walked in wearing brilliant smiles, their confidence lifted from weeks of sharing their dreams through dance and interaction. The dull confines of fear and judgment faded, replaced by a kaleidoscope of talent brought to the forefront. As the presentation unfolded, the innovative strategies they proposed echoed with the authenticity cultivated back in those rejuvenating dance sessions. Their ideas resonated across the room, bold and unapologetic like Eli's dance. The decision-makers appreciated the originality and creativity. Applause erupted at the conclusion of the presentation, affirming a powerful paradigm shift had taken place in their workplace. Yet, even amidst the celebration, realization struck James with shimmering clarity: this journey had changed him. He was no longer just a corporate strategist, he was a leader who illuminated paths for others, who understood that success could be redefined through authenticity and vulnerability. Later that evening, as he left the office with colleagues buzzing around him, echoes of laughter curled in the air, he felt a wave of fulfillment. But beyond professional recognition, he ventured into the unknown terrain of personal growth. Perhaps his greatest achievement was seizing the moment to come alive not merely as a corporate executive but as a whole person. Weeks before, he had been trapped within the shackles of fear and uncertainty. Today, each heartbeat radiated solid confidence, a tenacity resounding in the choices he had made. He had forged new connections not only in the office but within himself. He embraced both sides of his identity, commingling the rigorous strategist with the uninhibited dancer. With the sunset behind him, James realized he was no longer apprehensive about the judgment of others but instead looked forward to continuing the dance wherever it may lead. Life was no longer about merely surviving but about celebrating the art of living, and in this moment, he promised himself a dedication: he would keep this narrative alive, crafting a rhythm that embraced both professionalism and passion. This experience crystallized his journey towards understanding that personal and professional lives could transcend boundaries and mesh seamlessly. So as James took one last look at the vibrant skyline dazzling above him, he knew that this newfound perspective was not just a passing phase, it was a commitment to keep dancing through life with boldness, creativity, and an unyielding belief in his potential. This is the moment all of you need to witness. If you believe in the power of personal transformation and want to follow more inspiring journeys like James's, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait even one more second to share this journey with at least 5 friends who need to feel that spark of hope. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and make these touching stories reach more people who need it. Comment your thoughts and reactions below, and let's keep this community thriving. Your support is invaluable. Let us champion these emotional tales together.